Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're plunging into something, well, truly fascinating, but also maybe a bit unsettlingly real. We're talking about how these seemingly invisible forces can have a really profound, almost brutal impact on our concrete day-to-day lives. We've got some pretty striking insights from a source called The Intangible's Brutal Grip on Reality to help us explore this.
Yeah, so the central idea we're kicking off with right from the source material is about how ego and comparison, they've sort of quietly taken over, haven't they, for like multiple generations now, not just in obvious ways, but almost like we're living inside some kind of metaphorical matrix. The source basically says ego and comparison aren't just personality quirks anymore. They're like these invisible algorithms quietly reprogramming our sense of self-worth. Think about it. The source points out how just one social media like gives that little dopamine hit, effectively training us, to look for validation outside ourselves instead of feeling good inside. It's a digital matrix where metrics are constantly redefining what happiness even means.
It's really interesting how the source actually frames these. It called them new invisible forces. And it describes them almost like a religion without gods, but with algorithms. Which is key, I think, because it highlights how our phones, our feeds, even the news we see, they're filled with these sort of algorithmic rituals now. It's not about, worshiping a deity in the old sense, but it's about unconsciously falling into these patterns of behavior, patterns rewarded by attention, by validation. It makes us, unwitting participants in this new faith of comparison. And the source argues it's really the pervasiveness of it all. And those algorithmic feedback loops, that's what makes them feel new. I mean, sure, people have always judged each other, right? Maybe in the village square or whatever. But now, it's potentially a global audience, instantly. And it's measured, quantified, the constant, easy-to-access metric of approval that really shifts the game.
That idea of it being like a quiet hum everywhere, that really hits home. So if it's working on that subtle level all around us, what are some of the really tangible ways the source shows this playing out, like in our daily actions? And maybe let's start by really unpacking that first force, ego. For you listening, maybe just think for a second, how much of your own daily drive actually comes from chasing validation in this digital world?
That's a powerful question to ask, absolutely. And the source dives right into that. It shows how this hunt for validation isn't just like a personal choice anymore. It's become this systemic pressure. When the source talks about ego here, it's pointing out a shift. It's subtle, but important. This kind of digital ego. It's less about old school grandiosity and much more about fragility. It's something meticulously built online. Through carefully curated appearances, filtered realities, all that stuff. And the core insight is that this constant performance, it just drains our authentic self. It can lead to this really profound sense of emptiness when the applause, the likes, the comments, when they stop. It shows how the ego turns into this feedback loop, right? Constantly needing that external input just to feel stable.
Right. It really makes you think, doesn't it? How many photos we've all scrolled past where someone looks incredibly happy, but you just wonder, what was really going on behind that screen? It's almost like a giant societal theater sometimes. And that must feed directly into the comparison thing, I guess. How does the source connect that ego-driven need for validation with, how pervasive social comparison is today?
Well, absolutely. They're completely tied together. You can't really separate them. If ego is all about proving your self-worth, then comparison is the endless, unavoidable measuring stick we're all held up against. The source gives a really striking example, the rise of highlight reels on social media. Everyone's showing their absolute best moments, right? Their wins, their perfect vacations. And that inadvertently creates this totally false benchmark. It makes our own perfectly normal, sometimes messy, ordinary lives feel, inadequate. And this isn't just a fleeting feeling, The source argues it's systematically chipping away at our satisfaction with what we actually have. It subtly convinces us that our baseline life just isn't good enough, that we need more or something different or something better just to measure up to these standards that often are even real.
Yeah. So I think one really crucial takeaway from digging into this today is just how much these intangible things, stuff like image, sheer appearance, those empty promises we sometimes chase online, how much they genuinely exert this profound, sometimes brutal effect on our actual tangible lives. We're talking about impacts on our very body, our mental health, the decisions we make every day, and ultimately the whole trajectory of our lives.
Exactly. And if we zoom out to the bigger picture for a second, the source leaves us with this really, really thought-provoking idea. It suggests that, maybe without us even fully realizing it, happiness became a private spectacle that nobody feels but everyone applauds. Which just raises this huge question, doesn't it? What does that actually imply about the authenticity of our lives? When our deepest emotions become just a performance, What's the personal cost we're all paying for this widespread show where we display something we might not truly be feeling deep down? It really makes you wonder, what would it actually mean to feel happiness, truly feel it, rather than just putting it on display?
That is a powerful thought to mull over as you navigate your world. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive, and we invite you, as always, to continue your own thoughtful explorations into these unseen forces shaping our reality.